Mr. Connor, we'll start with you again. And why should voters believe you are a more suitable choice than your opponent, or in the case for a multiple candidate race, his opponents?
Well, as everybody knows, I am not, and nor have I ever held political office. But the primary reason I got into this race is for my concern for my two boys, Charlie, who's 9, and Hayden, who's 3. And I wear this little lapel pin, which is 2 little baby feet. And the reason I do that is because the decisions that I make, the decisions that we all make today, are going to have a profound effect on the generations that will follow us. They don't have a voice, and it's up to us to make sure that their future is secure. As I said earlier, I have lived a life of excess. And let me assure you, the way downward wasn't fun. It wasn't fun at all. My mother used to warn me time and time again, Kevin, you can't borrow from Peter to pay Paul. There's a day of reckoning that will come, and you won't like that day. I am trying to apply my own personal experience to this process, to be honest and forthcoming to everyone, not to hide anything about how I've lived, about the excesses that I've done, but to apply the experiences I have learned through firsthand experience. Because as I said, the situation of going to the penthouse and then falling back to the basement is not one that's very, very nice at all. And, you know, my children and my wife and I, we work very hard. We're trying to reestablish our lives, the lives that we had before. And I just don't want to see that. I don't want anybody else to have to experience that, because it is a tough, tough road to battle back from. And I know that a lot of families here in Dare County struggle. Husband and wife, single parents, work 40, 50, 60 hours a week, full-time jobs. Some of them work part-time jobs on top of that, just to make ends meet. My concern is for them. My concern is for them, because I know it's tough. I know it's a tough life out there. I know it's very difficult, to say the least. And for every step you make forward, you feel like there's somebody pushing you 3 backwards. And I really would like to have the opportunity to work and try to advance economic development policy here in Dare County that can bring more sustainable jobs to the county that aren't necessarily geared to tourism, but can offer our citizens or residents with higher paying job opportunities, that offer benefits that isn't seasonal, they're permanent, because we really need to look out for one another, because I'm afraid that I'm really scared of what's on the horizon from a financial aspect, of what's going to happen to this country in the months ahead because of both sides of the political aisle
10 seconds.
not planning prudently for the future. Our children's future and their children's, their lives are at stake. And if I can't do but one thing, I want to make sure that my children have the opportunity in this country and in this county. Thank you.
All right, Alan Burris.
Well, I mean, when you look at me, you look at somebody that's been here, worked here, runs a business here, and has worked in the community for a long period of time. I'm not someone that you're just going to see a flash in the pan or have a hope. I've got a record. I've helped build schools. I've helped build schools on the commissioners. I've helped build buildings. I've done those things all within the budgets that were set at the time and made things work. At Kitty Hawk, when I first got on the board of education, we had 300 children. The next year we had 750. We had to figure out how to get stuff in there to make it work and work through it and get things straight, get teachers in the proper position so they could do what they needed to do. And we did those things. We got them done. I work every day in business. I'm there early, there late, but at the same time I find time to get out and move and up and down the county. When I look at the problems that we're facing, I hear the guys talking about them and different things, but you look at our fishing industry. We're facing regulation problems there. We're working on that. Beach access, that's faced right down there where I have a business. You know, it's difficult, but we're finding new ways to make money. We're not throwing up our hands and worrying about what tomorrow will bring, and we're not hollering chicken little that the sky's going to fall tomorrow. We're out there figuring out how we can make it work today, how we can get those things. And you start with what you have. You start at every process. We have a good tourism business. We don't need to back off from that. We need to spread it out on both ends. We need to take advantage of the historical aspects that we have. We need to look at other areas and see how we can get those to work for us and in what directions we can get them in. And at the same time, we need to be able to look at doing other things. We know the fishing business is in trouble, so we have to figure out ways to help those guys. The building business, what did we do? We figured out a way for those folks to be able to come in and get a permit, not only in the same building, but in some cases the same day, so that nothing slowed them up, nothing slows them down to get out and get to work and get on with things. We bought the internet in here. We bought Information Highway in here. We've looked at those things and continue our looking at those things. We don't see any way that we can do any more, but we'll continue to look. And opportunities are not always our thoughts and our realms, but somebody else will come up with a good idea, and we're willing to listen at it and direct it and find out if it'll work and look and see if it works somewhere else. Well, it's a great opportunity to reach out and to build this economy in a different direction in different ways as we move forward. And I would like to have the opportunity to help with that. Thank you, sir.
Warren Judge.
Thank you. I work full-time at this job, from Duck to Stumpy Point, from East Lake to Hatteras Village, the 6 towns, 10 villages, and community neighborhoods in between. I know the people. I know their issues. I know the differences in the towns, the different needs in the villages and communities. But I do know this. At the end of the day, we're one county, and we all have this common thread that puts us together. Alan touched on some of the things. People talk about economic development. Let me tell you about what your county commissioners have done economic development. We brought a hospital in here, hundreds of full-time, high-paying jobs. We made a deal with the state of North Carolina. We gave them land. They later purchased a piece of land and gave ours back to us because it was a better site for water access, and they're building Coastal Studies Institute. The 17th campus of the University of North Carolina system. You talk about jobs, you're going to have some jobs. You're going to have high-paying jobs. I have a vision. I have a vision that I'm going to lead the Dare County Public Schools, the College of the Albemarle, whose chairman is sitting in the office with us tonight. I'll get scolded tomorrow when we go to a Board of Trustees meeting, and the Coastal Studies Institute, and bring those 3 institutions together. If you want jobs, you've got to educate your children. We do an excellent job educating our children, but this is how I want to educate them. I want to use the STEM program, science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. I want to take our children who surf, who fish, who swim in our oceans, who swim in our coastal sound waters. I want to take those children, get them a good scientific background in our public schools here, send them through COA, send them to higher education universities of their choice, then bring them back as the scientists that are going to tell us what we need to do with stormwater runoff, with wastewater, to deal with global warming, to deal with rising sea level. That's what we need. We need those people who understand our environment to lead us in our environment. That will create jobs. You know, there's everything right about Dare County. It is. That's why you all live here today. You know, if you didn't, it would be Alan, Alan and about 500 people. That's what would be here. And, you know, and don't curse tourism. Let me tell you what tourism does for you. If you live in the town of Kill Devil Hills, it saves you 7 cents on your property tax rate. If you live in the town of Kitty Hawk, it saves you 6 cents on your town property tax rate. If you live in Duck, it's 4 cents. If you live in Southern Shores, it's 4 3/4 cents. If you live in Nags Head and Manu, it's just under 8 cents that the tourism industry is putting in it. It puts in 10,500 full-time jobs, at least that many part-time jobs, and scores and hundreds of cottage industries. So we've got great economic things going here, folks, and we just need to keep it going. Thank you.
Bob Woodard.
Yes, sir. Sam, I believe the question was, what are the attributes? And I've got a passion for this. I think I said that in my opening remarks, that everyone needs to pay their civic rent. And I coined that phrase a number of years ago, but I'm passionate about the town that I live in, and I'm passionate about this community and this county. So I will give you that passion if I'm fortunate enough to be elected to this seat. I'm fair-minded. I have always been fair-minded about respecting my fellow man and respecting other people's opinions and trying to work with them to come to a consensus. I'm focused. I'm focused once the decision's been made that I will stay the course and I will give it 100% to see it through. I am straightforward. I've always been straightforward, and I think I practice being that because I want to give sound judgment to make a good decision for our entire community. And I'm supportive of my fellow commissioners and fellow citizens in this county, that I will give you 100% of my time and work very, very hard for all of these issues that's been brought up earlier about buying local, about responsible government, about protecting our fishing industry, being responsible with respect to our budget and our finances, our economic development, our tourism. I have to agree with Alan and Warren. Don't bash tourism. I serve on the Visitors Bureau. This is huge for the success of our county, and we need to grow that even more in the shoulder seasons and bring more different functions here so that our citizens, so that our businesses can grow and we can get more revenue to this county. I just came off in July after a year of serving on the grand jury for this Dare County. We have a huge drug problem in Dare County. We've got to do something about that now. We cannot continue to shove it aside. We've got to move on it. It's incredible. You know, I've got a police officer sitting out here in the audience that I saw every single month from Kill Devil Hills. And we would have anywhere from 58 to 85 cases a day. It's huge. We need to move, and we need to move on it now.
10 seconds.
And insurance. I'm in the insurance business. It is totally ridiculous as what our state government and our commission and our insurance commissioner is doing for this county.
Okay.
They're now talking about another rate increase.
All right,
I promise you I will go to Raleigh and work diligently to keep that from happening.
All right, Bob Mueller.
The question, as I understood it, was why should the voters choose you as opposed to the other guy? That's pretty easy because I'm the best candidate. I have 20 years experience in local government. I served as a commissioner for 15 years. I was mayor of Nags Head for 5 years. But that doesn't tell you everything that you should know about my experience. I worked 30 years as a clerk in the Kill Devil Hills post office, dealing with individuals every day, delivering the mail, talking to folks in the community, listening to problems, and just being open and accessible. I think I know a little bit about Dare County and about the folks that work there. When I retired from the post office and left the town, I was committed to staying involved in the community. So I went to Duke University and took a series of courses which led to my getting a nonprofit management certificate. That doesn't mean much more than I took about 50 hours of courses. But I wanted to build expertise because I know that what I knew in local government didn't necessarily transfer over to the nonprofit world. And then I was asked to join several nonprofit boards. For the last 5 years, I've served as chairman of the Outer Banks Community Development Corporation, dealing with the affordable housing question. When I first came on the board, our problem was finding homes that folks, working families, could buy. Now our problem is trying to keep those same working families in their homes, keep them from getting thrown out. We've been doing a good job at it, but it's another way that I've found to stay in the community. Paul Tyne mentioned Outer Banks Create the Future and technology. I serve on the Outer Banks Create the Future board. We were instrumental in bringing the loop of 98 strands of fiber optic cable that's coming out through northeastern North Carolina that's being installed. I'm also working on a board called Northeast Rural Broadband that's trying to take that fiber optic cable and drive it back to families that are either unserved or unserved in rural North Carolina, both in Dare County and in the other 18 counties of rural North Carolina. I have the time to serve. As I said, I'm retired. It's a full-time job to be a Dare County Commissioner. I was in Hatteras on Friday night for homecoming. I was working in Manteo on Saturday, and I was up in Duck for the Jazz Festival. I serve on the board of the Outer Banks Community Foundation. I was down in Hatteras for the Hatteras Housing. I was down in Hatteras to look at the Master Gardeners Program. I was in Manteo because we were able to provide funding through the Community Development Corporation for Monday Night Alive. We need to work to create we need a commissioner who will lead our whole county and who will try and bring our county together. I believe I am that. And if you want to find out about me, I would encourage you to talk to folks who worked with me at Nags Head. What you will find is that I'm accessible.
10 seconds.
That you can talk to me, and that I will listen, learn, and then make the best decision for the community. Thank you.
Sandy Siemens Ross.
I have more than 35 years of experience in journalism, small business. I worked for a very, very eccentric man for 7 years doing his troubleshooting. He thought it was great fun to send me into businesses I knew nothing about, give me 2 weeks to assess them, and tell him whether or not we should buy them and what the problem was. The worst he did to me was send me into a whitewater rafting company that was booked for the season. He had bought it sight unseen. I can't swim, didn't know how to raft. Got there was no equipment. It had all been stolen, and I had to get it up and running in 2 weeks. So I've had to learn to be a quick study on a lot of different things. In journalism, I've always loved it because it's like a spider web, and there's all of these little things going out to the side, and I have to look at all of them. And I've done that for so many years that I look at everything that way. Some of the things that I've seen from many levels of government are unintended consequences, where they make a decision and they're looking at just one thing and they're not looking at the broader picture. I have the ability to look at that broader picture and to ask why. I'm also very, very passionate about open government. And I'm very proud to say I have 2 landmark cases under my belt. I've sued more than that, but those 2 are used as case law for other open government suits in the state now and are used in other states also. I served on the North Carolina Press Association Board of Directors. After 1 year, I was not asked to come back because I thought that they should conduct their manner in the same way we were asking local government, which was with transparency, and they took a little bit of offense at that. I served on the Chamber of Commerce Legislative Board and the Environmental Board. I did the assessment for the environmental impact statement for ORV access, and I'm the one who wrote all of our comments with the help of Jim Gilreath to go over the law issues that I addressed in there. A year ago, Warren Judge called me, and I will get even for this. He called and he said, Sandy, I've been to this long-term recovery committee meeting. He said, I'm a little concerned because there's no one on there representing the public. Everyone is with an agency. Will you serve on there? I think it was one of the smartest decisions he made, and not because it was me, but because I was the only one on there that wasn't tied to political correctness of bureaucracy. So sometimes a spade's a spade, and sometimes it's just a darned old shovel, and I was in a position to work with those things. And the other representatives on there could quietly say, look, we have a real problem with FEMA. Can you do something? And so I could bring up those issues.
10 seconds.
Someone else couldn't. I'm also the 2010 Hero of the Year Award for North Carolina. I was awarded that from the Open Government Coalition at Elon University. And please vote for me and you won't regret it. Thank you.
All right, Mr. Jackson.
First of all, when I decided I wanted to run, I went to my family, asked them. My family supports me. That's what I needed first. Second of all, I went to my employees to make sure that they were going to be available and that they supported me, because without family and employees in a business owned wouldn't work. They support me. They support me every day. If I need to be somewhere, they're there to cover. They work with me. That makes it, I'm approachable. I have a phone that's with me 24 hours a day. Most of the time, you can call me. I answer it. And I think that's a big thing, that people need to be able to call and talk to and need to be comfortable with who they have as representation. I get to speak with all aspects of the county. In my business, I get to travel at least weekly from Hatteras to Corolla. Sometimes not great, but I do. I get to see the different things that's going on. I'm nosy. I like to know what's going on. I think that's a big thing. I want to know, so I ask. I call people. If there's something going on, one instance or another, I find out who's involved and who do I need to talk to find out what's going on. I do that. I was an investigator with the sheriff's office. I understand that there's more than one side to everything, and it takes looking into it. You can't hear 10 people say this is a thing, well, there's 10 more people against it. Sometimes you have to go find them. You have to understand that that's what there is. There's two sides. And I've heard for the last couple of years that people wanted choices. They wanted a choice against my opponent that's in now. So I give a choice. Vote for me. Thank you.
All right, and now we're going to have a 2-minute rebuttal round, and we'll come back down and start with Kevin Gray Connor.
I'd like to explain to you what brought me to this table tonight. In January of this year, I decided that I wanted to run for county commissioner for the concerns that I explained to you earlier for my two boys, Charlie and Hayden. When I went to the County Board of Elections, I was told that you can't run under your particular party affiliation, which is Republican. You'll have to run as an unaffiliated candidate. So I decided that despite all the obstacles that lay ahead, I decided that I would attempt to get on the ballot. So from January 19th until the 29th day of June of this past year, I traversed the byways and sidewalks and side streets of Dare County in search of 1,086 signatures from registered voters here in Dare County in order to qualify to get on the ballot. I managed to collect 1,202 in that 6-month period, of which 1,107 were qualified as viable registered voters in Dare County, and I was placed on the ballot in early July. The reason I undertook this, as I explained to you earlier, is because my concern for my two children and for your children. I am just so afraid of what lay ahead for those two boys and for friends, for that generation. I am concerned about not having opportunity. And I am just, I can't say it. The comment was made earlier, you know, we educate our children and we do this, that, and the other, but, you know, we may educate them, but when they get educated, they go to college and they don't come back. The reason they don't come back is because the cost of living here in Dare County is extraordinarily high. Where are the jobs? Where are the sustainable jobs?
10 seconds.
That we need to keep people here in Dare County? A minimum wage isn't going to do it. We need jobs outside of tourism. I've been involved in tourism for 20 years. I can assure you they're low-paying jobs.
Right,
we
time.
need jobs that are sustainable and pay a living wage and not minimum wage.
All right, Alan Burris.
Yeah, I'm not going to comment much on what I had to say earlier. I probably said it real well, but I do want to comment on something that one of the Bobs said, Mr. Woodard. Substance abuse is a real problem, and we've been dealing with that. That was one of the prime reasons I ran 4 years ago, and it has, and got involved 2 years before that. We have put together a New Horizons area where children or young people, old people, it don't make any difference. There's no wrong door. You can go there and they'll get you help and start it. We've worked real hard at getting that up and running. It is not an end, though. I think that the problem is, and we were told by a study, his observation is very correct, because we were told by a study from UNC that come in here and studied the area that it was one of the most profound problems they've seen in a populace office this size. And we've worked hard at trying to get it straight, to get more help for people. We had a lot of problems with Albemarle mental health at the time, and basically we called for a study and called them on the carpet, and the state went in and took their money and decided they weren't doing things correctly and right. So we've been working with Port Systems out of Greenville. We've been working with the BEH people who have come in and began to help us, so we've had to start over. But what you see is something that is still in its infancy, and we hope to continue to move it. We need a 30-bed place somewhere that we can hold people until they can get somewhere where they get 4 months or longer, and those are things that are going to make a change. Also, we put money into, or they have decided and have done very quickly. They have in every school, or will have very quickly, a substance abuse advisor or a nurse that's trained to do so. And they have put in classes in all elementary schools about substance abuse for children in that realm. That's just a start, though. I'm sorry.
Oh, that's all right.
I'm not sorry, really, but I'm...
No need to apologize.
Anyway,
you're doing fine. All right, next is Warren Judge.
Thank you, Mike. More reasons to vote for me. 13 years ago, the then sitting Board of Commissioners looked into the future, and they blessed a group of people who wanted to put on a symposium called The State of the Child. So about 6 years ago, we did a follow-up called How Are the Children? And today there is plans for a 2014 third summit. If you look at the Dare County Board of Commissioners agenda, the very top printed, Gary, our clerk, is here tonight, the very first thing that's printed on there is, how will my decisions today affect our children? There is great looking down the road with the 14 people that I've had the pleasure to serve with over the last 12 years. Bob did mention drug issue. Alan talked about our New Horizons program, a program that he and I bulldogged with Senator Bass Knight and got a huge financial commitment out of the state that we matched with $500,000 a year to put it together. You're right, Bob. There's too many. It's too much out there. But at least we've got treatment systems in place today that we didn't have before. We are looking to the future. Our commercial fishing industry, I understand it. I understand game fish bills. I understand what it would do to our economy. We've worked with our state legislators. We've worked with National Marine Fisheries, with North Carolina Marine Fisheries, with our Congress. We are trying to reestablish that industry. We want to get Oregon Inlet jettied or dredged permanently to reinvent the Wanchee Seafood Park, so that billion-dollar industry that left here will come back. And you talk about permanent full-time jobs, and the permanent full-time jobs will be high-paying once we can get that industry real established. Thank you.
Bob Woodard.
Bob, in all due respect, I believe I'm the best candidate for this District 2 seat. You know, being a county commissioner is more than just attending football games, going to jazz festivals, and being retired. I happen to believe that someone who works full-time, as I do, I have the time. My company's given me the time. I have the support of my wife 100%. And I'm accessible. If you call folks that know me, they know that I respond. When they contact me, I respond. I look into the problem, I try to find a solution, and I work very, very diligently to solve that. If you go on my web page and look at electwoodard.com, you'll see that I'm proposing forums, which the county does not have, to the best of my knowledge. I haven't seen any of them. But I'm talking about quarterly forums to meet with our chamber leaders, to meet with our business leaders, small business owners in our county, to meet with the real estate industry, to meet with the Home Builders Association, and to meet with the chamber so that we can bring all of this talent together so that we can have talk about a better future and responsible government throughout the county. That's what I propose. That's what I'll do, and I will give it 100%. And I ask for your vote November the 6th because I feel like that I am the better candidate.
No, Bob, but if you go to a football game, then you have a chance to run into a teacher from Hatteras Island and hear about the problems that she's having getting supplies for her school because she doesn't have enough money in the budget. If you go to the Duck Jazz Festival, you meet Toby Gonzalez, whose mother was a very good friend of mine, who's working on bringing technology jobs. He's moving a programmer down here. He has a new Facebook app that he's developing, and you talk about the new broadband internet that's being put in out here, and you find ways that he's going to be able to leverage and use that. No, being a county commissioner is not just going to football games in Duck. It's developing a capital improvements plan, as I have. It's developing a stormwater management plan, as I've worked on. It's developing wastewater management plans, as I have. It's developing a transportation plan, employee retention plan, fire equipment plan. It involves a lot of thinking ahead, a lot of looking down the future. And it also involves being at football games and being involved in the community, being seen, so that you can hear what the needs and concerns are.
All right, Sandy Siemens Ross.
In the past year, many parts of Dare County have been going through a very quiet crisis, trying to recover from Irene. These areas are not on the way to anywhere, and it's amazing how many people in Dare County do not know that there are houses still being torn down, houses still being repaired, people still sleeping on friends' couches. And in Stumpy Point, we have seen one commissioner. It hasn't been our commissioner, not the one assigned to our district, but Warren Judge is the only commissioner we've seen there in a year. Right after the storm, Virginia Tillett rode with him and came to one meeting. We have never seen Commissioner Johnson. And as I'm going out talking to people and trying to get them to write my name in for the 1st District, one of the things that has astounded me is that people don't realize, or some people don't realize, these seats are elected county-wide. Yes, you're assigned to a district seat, but you have an obligation to represent the entire county. I am tired of places like Stumpy Point and Hatteras Island being afterthoughts, and they are, always. The things that are talked about usually are really envisioned north of the inlet, not on the mainland, not on Hatteras Island. Hatteras Island has many problems besides access, or in addition to access, in addition to Bonner Bridge. Some things are getting a little bit better down there, but they need something. They need their tourism industry, but we have to stop feeling like we have to apologize if we say we need more than tourism. The tourism is always going to be the icing on the cake, but we need the ingredients for the cake. We have to develop a year-round economy in all of these areas, and if I'm elected, I will represent all of Dare County, not just my district. Thank you.
All right, Alfred Jackson.
One other thing, at one time I drove a fish truck for Juan Cheese Fish, and I understand that the commercial boat that comes in that has 2 people in it is the smallest part of the fishing industry, and how big of a business that is, and we need to work with that. And I understand that it involves people heading shrimp and people cleaning and people delivering fish to the restaurants. So and I understand that, and that's got to be a focus. We have to work with those individuals. We're losing the commercial fishing industry to Virginia as hard as we can, and we're losing a lot of revenue going there. And I understand that because I was a part of that. I got out of that industry because if there was no fishing, then I didn't work. Even though I drove a truck, had nothing to do with a boat. I understand that being a commissioner is being at functions other than the 2 meetings that you have to be out and represent the county. You have to go to individual committee meetings that you are placed on or you're assigned, and you have to go spend a lot of time and a lot of effort being out and being seen and approachable by the county.